Hello everybody, this is Mark Rollins here from TheGeekChurch, and today we're going to review a company that I've not reviewed before, and I review products these days and I try them out, and if they don't work, it's not a really good idea to blame the company on that, because it might be just that product that is malfunctioning, and you never really know. I've only given like 2 bad reviews in my entire life as a gadget reviewer. That's been about 15 years. And that was when the product just didn't work in principle. Like, it was very clear that nobody even tried this product in actuality to see if it worked and didn't see the impracticalities of it. In the case of Bosma, they sent me the Aegis Smartlock and the Sentry video doorbell. I tried them out at home and they both didn't work for me for different reasons, which I'm going to get into. But I'm going to tell you about what happened to me when I tried them out. And I'll try and be very specific in my details. And I'll let you decide whether you want to purchase these, because in principle, these products should work. And I've had both of these types of products before. I reviewed both of these types of products before, and they're very handy to have around your house. I'll start with the Bosma Aegis. I believe that means shield. And it's a smart lock. If you're not familiar with a smart lock, I'll show you how it works, because I have a smart lock at home which works almost precisely like this. But essentially, like, you know, you've got your door and you have a deadbolt. Essentially, this thing is programmed so at the touch of a button from your smartphone, this thing will twist, your deadbolt will lock into place. And this thing is like a mechanism that does this. Now, the way this works here, this thing sticks in here. Oh, yeah. Or how does that work? How do I do again? Oh, there we go. It sticks in there. And then, as you can see, this thing turns. And this thing can turn with a touch of a button on your smartphone, or you can manually turn it on your side. And that's kind of cool. I mean, it really deadbolts the door shut. And these things could be on every house, though. So even if you're in bed, you go like, oh, did I lock the door? And you can just check your smartphone and just hit a button. And it'll even tell you if your deadbolt is locked or unlocked. It's a great device to have. And unfortunately, here's the deal with this thing. When I had it all set up, and here's the thing. What you got to do is when you get this on here, this thing kind of goes in here somehow. Here it is. And these things, these little wing things, close on it. Here's the issue when you actually do this in real life. It is dang hard to get these things to close. Chances are you'll get one of them to close, and then you'll work like a dickens to get the other to close. That's how it worked every time I tried to install one of these things. Here's what happened when I installed the Bosma. Basically, what I had to do was open the sucker up. This thing is like, it's like a magnet here. See that? Unfortunately, it's not always like a magnet. Sometimes it just kind of falls right off. That was happening a lot. So after I was installed, I went through the whole setup procedure, which is done on an app, of course, because everything's app-worthy these days. And all I had to do was basically, it said like, okay, lock it. So I locked it. And then it said unlock it. I unlocked it. Open your door. Do something like that. Yeah, this thing could actually detect whether your door is open or closed, which I think is kind of interesting. I've never really seen that in a smart lock before. But here's where it got really complicated. When I had the door unlocked, it spun it, and it just didn't unlock. It just kind of stayed there. And I had to go through the whole setup procedure to make sure I was doing it right. And I'm sure you've experienced this technical trouble where the machine tells you, this thing is not closed. But you can tell, I'm here. I can see it is clearly closed. This was the same frustration I was experiencing with this. It was like I couldn't get this to go to do it every time. So when I finally set this up, it would not work for me. Now, I'm going to say something in this company's defense. My other smart lock, when I program it to open and close at the same time, or not unlock and lock, essentially what happens is I get an error message sometimes saying that the lock is jammed. But I look and the lock is not jammed. The lock is in place. Everything looks good. It never has affected the progress of it. This one, they seem to think the lock is jammed and they can't do anything afterwards. that's kind of the issue there. Maybe my door is not set up ideally, because here's the thing about doors. They get a lot of weather. They get a lot of time. They start to rot. Let's put it this way. Sometimes our locks are a little bit off. So maybe it's a little bit off thing. Maybe it had some firmware I should have installed. Maybe this is just a bug in the stage, and maybe they'll fix this. Maybe this is just something unique to my door, and I'm going to assume that that is what happened. But in theory, this product should do its job. But I have to tell you in theory because I'm an honest reviewer. And this is a time where this thing was a real devil to install, and it was a real devil when it didn't work. Now, here's this next device I want to review. The Smart Doorbell. The Sentry is a video doorbell that I have to admit was also a pain to install. Once you get this stuff in here, oh yeah, they want you to put this. Here's the thing. I have not really done much work on my doorbell before. My doorbell is currently broken. Now, before you're starting to say like, well, that's why your product didn't work. This product was working, and then it didn't work after a while. Why is that? Who knows? Machines are funny, aren't they? So basically, here's the issue. I had to take off my doorbell, unscrewing it, and then there were these two wires there. And basically, you put on this little thing. This guy is essentially like a little framing device for you. And you screw this into place on your doorbell, and this is where it gets tricky. Then, what you got to do is you have to put your wires in here. There's these spots where you got to screw in your doorbell wires. And this is where it just was a pain. My doorbell wires were not that big. So when I did this, here was the issue. This actually kind of came with a screwdriver, and I could not get this because the wall was here, and I could not get the right angle to get this to work. Here's what I had to resort to. I found some twisties, you know, bread twisties, like you use to lock your bread, you know, this little twist thing. I stripped off the end of them, and I used it to extend my doorbell wires and to put them in here. That's the steps that I went to get this to work. And you want to know what's funny? It actually worked. This thing started talking to me. So then what happened was, once I got this thing mounted on the thing, oh, let's see this thing. How does this thing work? Oh yeah, it locks into place like this on the wall. And then this, I believe, is a fingerprint identifier or something like that. At least that's what it says. And this actually mounts down below. Okay, I'm gonna get this eventually. Spider-Man! Oh wait, I'm only supposed to call him when there's an actual emergency. Once I got this thing installed, I opened up the app to officially install it. And then it told me that what I had to do was essentially hit this button that's located here. So while I was on the thing, I had to, once I got this thing on my door jamb, so to speak, I had to take it off just so I could hit this button. And then it got even more complicated because it was telling me I could only use a certain type of Wi-Fi, and then it was, and then I had to enter in my Wi-Fi password, and it was giving me vocal directions, but it was very unclear. Eventually, I got to the point where I had to, it gave me a QR code, which I had to wave in front of this thing. Or not wave in front, but just put it in front. And then it recognized it was there. And from there, I was able to get live video footage from this smart doorbell, which is what this thing is supposed to do. And it was doing it. It was connected up. I was hit the button. My doorbell was functioning. Things were looking good. What happened? I don't know. I absolutely don't know. I have no idea. At some point in time, some hours later, it just stopped working. When I opened up the app to view who was at the door or some live video footage, I wasn't getting anything. I came out earlier today to try and fix this thing, to try and reset it up. It wouldn't allow me to reset it up. I don't know what happened. That's 2 for 2 for these guys, Bosma. I don't know what happened, man. And that's crazy. And that can be very frustrating because if you're like me, you aren't very technically know-how or whatever. You just want to set it up and plug and play. This one didn't really work out that way. But anyway, this concludes this review of the Bosma Aegis and the Bosma Sentry. And hopefully this will go well for this company in the future. This is Mark Rollins signing off.